Hi, everybody. Mike Bloom here, back with another special Amazing Race 38 podcast where we are checking in, emphasis on check, considering the past couple of weeks of the Amazing Race 38, with a member of the Big Brother community to get their thoughts on this incredibly Big Brother based season of the Amazing Race. But based it is not. There's a lot of complex things to get into, and I'm so excited to welcome this person in because she is a cornerstone of Big Brother coverage here on RHAP. And I am very intrigued to get not only her amazing race thoughts, but how the two are mixing right now. But it is the one, the only Melissa Deni.
Hi, I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. I was hoping at the end of the finale of Big Brother, I was like, I hope I get to come on and talk about Amazing Race. So I'm very excited to talk about it.
Well, yeah, talk to me a bit more about that. I guess to start, obviously, people know about your experience with Big Brother. I think to a certain extent, people know your experience with Survivor. I don't think people know about, myself included, your history with The Amazing Race. Do you have a history?
Yeah, I started watching it season one. Once again, but like this is like it's funny because now I can use this as like, yeah, I started watching it season one for Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race, like all
It's,
of these shows.
yeah, it's the biggest hipster claim you could ever
But
have in your
I
life.
know it's great. Like I love to be able to say that, but like literally it's I start to think about it and I'm like, this is kind of insane. My family was like obsessed with reality TV when it came out. So like or when it started. So it was like
Mhm.
all reality shows, like any show you can think of. It was like, yeah, we watched season one. Like, yeah, we started from the beginning because we were like crazy. So it was like a big part of my family, like as I was growing up. And so Amazing Race, though, I will say that like that's one of the shows where I kind of go in and out of
Mm.
it. Like, so I haven't seen every single season, but I have come like in and out, especially when Big Brother players are on it. I'm like, I'll watch it and I'm very excited about it. And I love the show. But yeah, this season I'm very excited about because obviously Big Brother, it's so fun to like see people that I know and that I really love and just be able to watch them in this totally other setting. I mean, honestly, like as much as like the loved ones have been like I love them on the show, like I would have loved to have seen like pairings from Big Brother, like people who
Yeah.
like maybe don't fit together well, like aren't a good team, or like
Ah!
people who had rivalries or something, just because I feel like that would be kind of fun to see. But I get wanting your loved one to be there. So
Well,
that's
yeah, we're about a quarter of the way, I think, through this season of The Amazing Race 38. And as you mentioned, it seems like you came in with expectations, either based in previous Big Brother teams or otherwise. How has the reality compared to the anticipation you had for this season?
It's been great. I've loved it. I've had such a fun time watching it. I told my family, like, you guys have to check this out. Like, because they're also like in and out of Amazing Race. They're not like diehards. And so I told them, like, this is a good season. Like, you have to watch. So I've been loving it. I feel like it's been living up to my expectations for sure, especially because there's so much strategy going on. Like, I was a
Mm.
little worried it might just kind of be like, okay, like, they race across the country and it's fun to watch the personalities and the clashes and like see how people do. But this has been like, it's honestly exceeded my expectations in terms of like there being actual strategy and like alliances and seeing like what people are thinking in regards to like why they're making certain decisions or who they want to work with or not work with. So yeah, I've been loving it. It's been really great.
I want to get into some of those strategic decisions because, yeah, to your point, especially this most recent episode, it was very much at the forefront. I mean, I think the story I really want to lead with is this three-team alliance, the Trainwreck Alliance, that was leading the train, leading the charge
Hmm.
these past couple of legs. And again, I mentioned this on the recap, but alliances in the Amazing Race can be very hot or cold because some would feel sometimes is it antithetical to the competitive nature of the Amazing Race to be like, no, we're going to help each other. I think fans have even said, it's unfair for teams to box out other teams. Obviously, coming from more of a social strategic perspective, you could see the merits in it otherwise. What is your take specifically on like what you saw from those three teams in this most recent episode? Leaving each other written directions, letting someone get a first place victory for their birthday.
I thought it was great. I mean, I loved the written directions. I loved like at first I was kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, okay, we're gonna give her first place. But then when they explained like we're kind of trying to take the heat off of us, it's not just being altruistic. I was like, okay, I can get behind this. All right. So I've been loving it, especially because I think I probably would like it less if it was like outside of the game, like their personal relationships making them work together. Like, but these three teams, like, I don't really think they have like any personal relationship. I mean, maybe very minimal, but they're not known as like being friends with each other. Like, if it was Tucker and Rubina and they were like just working with each other and like boxing everyone else out, like you said, like I feel like I would feel less good about it because I'd just be
Mm.
like, well, obviously they're going to work together. They're dating. Like, okay, that's not kind of fun to watch. But this is kind of fun because it's like they've recognized that they can help each other out and they kind of were in the same boat or like the same positioning. And so I could see why they're kind of like, well, if I help them, they might help me in the future. And we're all kind of good versus like, I'm going to help boost this team up that's having a really tough time, which is fine. But this is more strategic, I think. I think this is more fun for me. And also like, I'm sorry, but these three, like Natalie, Jag, and Joseph, like they're not like known as being the strategists of Big Brother. Like
Yeah.
they have had good moves before and things like that, but they're not known as being, extremely strategic. So it's fun to see these guys in particular working together because I honestly would never have expected it.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I mean, I want to talk about Natalie in particular because I wouldn't call her like the biggest X factor coming in, but I think, we've seen Enzo more recently than Natalie
Mhm.
Negrotti, especially in a Big Brother based perspective. So, what has been your reaction to seeing her and Stephanie so far, especially considering they just netted a pretty fancy birthday gift this past leg?
I've been so surprised. I've been like they've blown me away with how they're doing. Like I honestly didn't expect them to do that well just because, Natalie's I mean, I think she was on the challenge. I didn't watch the
Yeah.
challenge, so I don't know how she did in like physical competitions or anything like that. But like I don't remember her being all that physical during her season. Maybe I'm just misremembering, but I didn't think of her as all that physical or even all that mentally, strategic or anything. So to me, I was kind of like, she'll be one of the early ones out. Like, okay, that's fine, whatever. It's fun to see her back on the screen, but whatever. But she's actually proven herself and her sister as being really good. So I've been very impressed with them. And I thought that the written directions thing was just like such a fun little twist because I mean, I haven't watched all the seasons, but I don't think I've ever seen that before in the seasons that I've watched. So I thought it was like a clever way to help their alliance members along.
Well, someone who helped them certainly along, especially this past leg, is Jag and Jess. And again, there has been a lot of back and forth, I think, coming into the season, given Jag's record breaking competitive background. It's like, okay, is he a ringer? But I think even his most ardent supporters maybe wouldn't have thought that they would be as dominant as they
Oh
are,
yeah.
right? To your point, would have been 3 first place finishes, would have had a perfect record so far had they not purposely stepped aside to give someone else a first place finish. So talk to me about your own again expectation versus reality when it came to the brothers.
They're really good. I mean, I forgot how good Jag was in competition. So I really wasn't thinking that much coming into the season. I was like, oh, I think they'll be, funny and, they'll be nice guys, whatever. But I really didn't think that they were going to be this dominant. I also didn't think that they would be in an alliance because I had a feeling that people would be like not wanting to work with them because they're so good.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that they immediately were, taken into this alliance and joined forces with other teams. I really thought that they would kind of be, I mean, especially like Kyland and Taylor giving them the express pass or whatever. That was like wild. I don't think that was a great move, but I was very surprised by that because they were like, "Oh, we don't want to give it to someone who's like a close friend of ours, so let's just give it to the best people." It's like, why? I don't get it. I was like, maybe I just don't understand the mechanics of the game. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think, I'm sure that they will be given an opportunity to explain their reasoning. I'm sure
There's got to
there
be
has to be a
something.
rationale behind it, but I think it is something that I think a lot of people are still trying to find, especially as Jag and Jazz continue to do incredibly well.
Yeah.
Again, their first, second, now with an express pass in their pocket. Now, I do believe, I'm trying to remember, I think the express pass, I think it might expire at the end of the 8th leg, I want
Maybe
to
they
say.
thought that like they're going to be in the lead anyway. So you might as
Yeah.
well just like let them have it. And like maybe then a team that you could have beaten and maybe they would get out instead of you. Now, instead, it's like, no, they'll get out because they don't have an express pass. Like maybe just trying to be safe about it. I
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know that also in past seasons, like even last season, the express pass expired at the fifth leg, the one that was like given out in the very first leg. So
Oh,
like,
interesting.
so maybe it was a matter of like, I don't know, maybe it is an earlier expiration. I'm just not remembering at this point. But if it did, then maybe it is a little less egregious to just kind of throw onto somebody because it's not like, oh, it's not like it's almost like a in Survivor, right? A hidden immunity idol that you can hang on to until the final five versus like one that's good for your first tribal council. It's like, okay, it's fine if that person finds it
Yeah, it
because like
doesn't
then they'll just sort
matter.
of like use it. It's not going to be this sort of thing hanging over their head for the entirety of the season. So that also might have been a rationale for it. And then it's like a win-win because it's like they are given this sort of useless thing, but they also owe us one. I want to talk to you about that a bit, Melissa. I mean, do you think that this sort of tit for tat kind of mentality that some of these teams are taking of like, I'll help you out if you help me out down the line, given the nature of these players, do you think that's something that's going to be honored by everybody?
I think it depends. I think some of the players are very attuned to that and are actually like interested in that type of like, if you help me, I'll help you. Like Jag and Jazz, like I do think that they are the type of players that are like, well, they did something nice for us, so we should do something nice for them. They kind of play that way. There are other players, and maybe not other players on this season. I'm trying to think like who, but like there's a lot of Big Brother players who would be like, yeah, I don't care what you did for, I'm not gonna like, it's not, doesn't matter to me. But on this season, I do feel like there's a lot of people on there who are like, no, I would return the favor. I would want to help you out. Like I can't really even think of anyone who wouldn't. These guys are all like less of the devious
I'll say Angela was already
Big Brother
eliminated, and
type. Yeah, I would
she
say
might be the
Angela
person.
might be like the one, but there's not really that many like devious players on this season, which I think is also why you are seeing a lot of like camaraderie and like helping each other out and things like that, especially because a lot of these players are friends outside of it. There's not really that many rivalries. I mean, and even the ones that are sort of rival, I guess maybe Izzy and Paige would be the ones to be the most devious, maybe.
Mm.
But I think that like they really didn't pick a lot of the more, ruthless Big Brother characters this season.
Well, I want to ask about one other very strategic, landmark in the third episode, which is, of course, the driver's seat. Brand new twist for you, relatively brand new twist for Amazing Race fans. And I've talked about this a couple times. It's a bit of a square peg into a round hole, but it's like maybe the closest we get to a head of household like power in the Amazing
Mm.
Race, right? Where like one team has the singular ability to assign roles to other people. In the case of Big Brother, it's assigning the roles of nominee and not nominee. But what do you make about this as a twist, given those sort of connective tissue? And what did you think about what Natalie and Stephanie did with that?
I really liked the twist. I feel like I like that sort of stuff. Anytime you're bringing in like more strategy and less just like, oh, complete this task and then move on. Like to me, that's fun. I get that it's not like Amazing Race, classic Amazing Race, and maybe the people who are like Amazing Race fans and not Big Brother fans are going to be like, I don't like this, but for me, it was fun. I feel like I liked the idea of like, oh, how are they going to use this? What is the best strategy for them to use it? I feel like they did a good job because it was like, it made sense, like the logic or whatever. You could point to it and not be like, oh, I'm targeting specific people. It's more like, well, we're trying to be fair about it, whatever. But in the end, I do think that like it did make a difference. I mean, especially with the first, I mean, even just seeing the first three teams with like how long it was taking for those three racks or whatever to be
Yeah.
finished. I mean, that looked like a hard task. I mean, I can't even pour like beer into a cup without it like overflowing. So I would have done terribly. So yeah, I did think that they handled it well, and it was an interesting a twist. I liked it.
Well, I think something that is also very interestingly baked into this is that it allowed this train wreck alliance an excuse to at least on the surface, kind of mask their alliance, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to give the other two teams the most weight. And we see a couple times, a couple teams be like, yeah, serve it to those boys, girls, by giving them the most amount of crates. I mean, this is something that's baked into Big Brother, right? Secret alliances have decked out the annals of Big Brother history. Do you think, though, given the savviness of some of these players, this is something that will continue to go undetected? Is this too cute of a move by them?
I think for now, I mean, I think like they would have to do something. Yeah, because I mean, if they didn't notice the directions being written down or anything like
No.
that, so
Yeah, because
like,
those three teams were just kind of off on their own the entirety of
yeah,
the leg.
yeah. So I mean, I honestly like, I think they could keep it under wraps for a little bit longer, especially because these are not people who you would think would be working together. So I
Hmm.
think that'll help them because if it was like, if it, like I said, Tucker and Rubina or like Kyland and Hannah or something, like maybe people would be like, well, I think they would be looking at them more like, let me see if they're helping each other out. Let's see how they're interacting with each other versus these three teams who presumably don't have any relationship. I think like maybe Jag and Joseph maybe know each other outside of it, but like I don't think that they're like friends. And I mean, Natalie, you guys said on the podcast too that like Natalie was one of the few people coming in that didn't seem to be connected to anybody else. And
No.
so the idea that like these three teams are working together would be like shocking to me if I was running the race with them. So I think that they can keep it secret for a little bit longer if they're, discreet about it, but it might be pretty tricky once it gets to be less teams.
I want to talk about one of the major pieces of episode 2, which was all of this train drama. Now, Melissa, I know you are a well-traveled person. Have you had any sort of like disastrous experiences like this? And this type of stuff you like watching on The Amazing Race?
Um, yeah, I've certainly had my fair share of train drama, like getting on the wrong train or the trains being canceled. I've had all of that. So yes, I have definitely had my fair share of this. And I've been to Amsterdam and I've been to Prague. So I was wondering like if being in those places like would have helped me or if I would have just been
Hmm.
like, yeah, I literally don't know where anything is. Cause yeah, I basically like not this is not your question, but I watching it, I'm like, man, I want to be on The Amazing Race. I was like, but I feel like everybody says that. I feel like everyone watches The Amazing Race and is like, I want to do this. This looks so fun.
Who would you run it with? Do you have like an ideal partner in mind?
Well, I figured I would run it with Dennis, my husband,
Yeah.
because we travel together all the time and he's like really good with like maps. He literally like studies maps for fun. Like he'll just stare at Google Earth or whatever and just like zoom in on like random things and like random places just for fun. And I'm like, what are you looking at? And he's like, oh, I'm just looking at like a village and like whatever. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I think we would be pretty good at that. I think the one place where I would struggle maybe is like the challenges. Like I
Hmm.
think the hockey challenge, I would have been like, no way. A lot of those challenges are just not for me. Like the cheese one, I'm sure I would drop all the cheese everywhere. But I would be good at, I would have loved to have done the floral one. That one looked amazing. That looked so fun. And I'm obsessed with flowers. So I would have loved doing that one. But yeah, no, I just feel like I would love to do that. But I told that to my brother and he was like, don't you think they'd want you to run with like Taryn or something? I was like, yeah, they honestly probably would like be like,
Unless it's a season of RHAP podcasters and their loved
which
ones.
would be amazing.
I mean, it
I
would
was
be
literally,
the most niche of all niche seasons. If people are
yeah,
pissed
I
off
was
about
like,
Big Brother people on The Amazing Race, look out.
can you imagine they do a whole season about it's RHAP, everyone, and everyone's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm
I
sorry,
mean,
what is
actually, no,
RHAP?
let me take that back because I think there are people that are crying out for like more normal people on The Amazing Race. That would be a step back from Big Brother people, right? They're like, I don't know who these people are, so they might as
That's true.
well be
Yeah,
complete strangers.
we're normal, right? We're normal. We could
I
do
feel it's a
it.
relative term.
Relatively normal.
I
It
mean,
would
what
be
yeah,
so fun.
what did you think about this? Because I think, on the one hand, created a lot of really fantastic drama. And obviously, even from what we've been hearing, outside of the show, there was even more that went down. On the other hand, it did kind of lead to a pretty stratified episode 3, right? Where it's
Mm.
like, with the exception of essentially Tucker and Eric, everyone kind of stayed within their own groups. Do you kind of feel like, the benefits and costs outweighed themselves here?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I guess you're right about that. I didn't even think about that being the reason why it was kind of all messed up. I I feel like I'd kind of have to see it again and see like how this works in another episode or something, but I think it is fun, and I feel like I wouldn't have liked it if it was like only the 3 bottle teams were left in the end and everybody else like moved forward or
Mm.
whatever. Because then it would be like, well, obviously that basically just like you just killed their chances. They're done. But there were people who had gotten there, did the 3 cases and moved on. So I feel less bad about it. But yeah, it is interesting how like basically the 3 teams that got out were always like in the bottom in the first 3 episodes. So it was like you kind of just like they were already there. It was just like which one of them is going to get out, which was so unfortunate because honestly watching Turner and Megan was like they were like my favorite team, like because they were just so funny and just like the quips that they had. I just loved watching them. So it was too bad that they got eliminated, but I also really like Kat and Alex. I think that, I mean, look, obviously I like them all because it's Big Brother and
Yeah.
everybody in it is so fun to watch. And I just like love seeing them like run the race. But just as far as like teams that have like surprised me with how much I've enjoyed watching them, it's like Turner and then Kat and Alex. I just love the 2 of them together. I think they're like such a cute match. And he's like so sweet to her when she's like melting down or she's being funny, and like they're just so funny together too. I just feel like the 2 of them are great to watch. So I've
Yeah.
really enjoyed them.
And this is another example, obviously not as far back as Natalie, but still, like, we haven't seen Kat on our screens for the
Yeah.
better part of 6 years. And, those of us that have been tuned into the community know her through her podcast or through other things that she's doing. But for some people, it's like, it's been more than half a decade since we've
That's
seen
wild.
Kat Dunn. And so it's fun to see her do this. And that's also, again, the appeal of all this, too, as you mentioned in the very beginning, is like, even the people we are seeing very recently, it's fun to see, you know, who they closely associate with and how much that informs
Mhm.
their personality or vice versa. Jack and Chelsea, great example where it's like the 2 of them are butting heads because they are so similar. And that's one of those, sort of disadvantages of running the race alongside someone who raised you for so many years.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I wonder how they picked their partners. Like, I wonder
Yeah.
if they were like, okay, we want Chelsea. Chelsea, who do you want to run the race with? Or whether it was like they kind of were like, what if it was your dad? Like, I don't know. I wonder how that works.
My sense is I think it depends. From when I talked with Angela and Lexi, she had kind of made the mention that, they asked her to do it and then they were like, "Well, we'd like your younger daughter if you'd like, if you're able to do this." So I think maybe they might have put in a recommendation for at least some people. I don't know if it was with every partner necessarily. I mean, I know when I talked with the Turners as well, a big hook for them was them being newlyweds, considering that they love romantic relationships, but that is a very different type of romantic
Yeah.
relationship. So my hunch would be, obviously in the past, it's been, hey, audition as a duo, get accepted as a duo. This
Right.
might have more so been reach out to the contestant and be like, because you also have to think about like gender parity, right? Like how many all female
Right.
teams versus how many all male teams versus how
And
many male
age
female.
too. It's like,
Yeah, that's also very true, where you don't want to necessarily, I mean, I still think that, Jack and Angela and like the Palumbo brothers to a certain extent can still stand out from everybody else in
Mhm.
terms of age, but like still you want to make sure things are like try to make things as relatively balanced as possible. And yeah, I do wonder, I don't know if they would ever say, but if they're, if there were other partners that these Big Brother contestants had in mind, but just had to kind of get pigeonholed into picking
Yeah.
certain people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I wonder like so yeah, I don't know the inner workings of like how they pick that sort of stuff. Like, but I feel like I'm still honestly so shocked that Taylor and Kylan like were
Yeah,
running the race
I
together.
need to get your thoughts about this. Of course, this is again the advantage of these podcasts is like checking in with everyone in the Big Brother community because this news again was so low key, and so to have it get revealed through the Amazing Race, what was your reaction when you first heard about the fact that the fact that they would be the only Big Brother team, and B, the fact that like this was their official kind of outing their long term relationship.
Yeah, like I'm so shocked that Tucker and Rubina didn't get paired together if they were dating. Like that's what I don't understand. Like they were dating, why did they bring in their siblings? Like, was it just they were like, I really want to run it with my siblings, so like, please let me do this? But like, I don't know. The logic doesn't make any sense because like Tucker and Rubina are a classic, like they were a classic big brother couple. They happened in the house. Like you would think that they would want them to run the race together so we could like see their dynamics, see them interact. I mean, the only thing we see them do is like yell at each other, like, good luck, bye. And that's it.
I mean, you could say on paper, like, if you were looking to, I'm not saying full out collusion, but if you were sort of working together as a household, why not double your chances at winning by splitting up?
Right. That's why I'm surprised that they did it. It's like, I get it, but like the producers, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't get it. So that number one, and then number two, to have like the only couple there from the show be a couple that like isn't really a couple. I don't know. I as far as I know, they're like not really a couple. Or at least they were like on again, off
they're
again.
right now at least they were off. Who knows? You know, we might find on in the next social media update. What do you make of their performance so far? Because I think, again, if we talk about expectation versus reality, you know, they were the number one pick in the draft that we did all the way back when we found out about this task. They finished first in that very first task. But so far, they hit the pit stop in ninth. Does that surprise you at all? Do you think that sort of discounts them from being a possible front runner, considering what we've seen from everyone else so far?
It totally surprises me. I honestly thought that they were going to be like number one, like the whole time. I thought for sure, especially after the first leg, I was like, oh man, these guys are like the team to beat. And then all of a sudden, Jag and Jazz like just skyrocketed to the front. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised at their performance. But I don't think we can really count them out yet because I do think, I mean, they did finish first, or they did finish the first task first. So I do see them being a solid team and being a team that like really I could see them winning, but I am a little surprised at their performance. So, you know, I don't know.
Well, let's talk about some of the, you know, the two teams that were eliminated this past leg. Unfortunately, I think, again, due to a bit of the stratification, it wasn't a complete shock. You know, Matt and Megan arguably running their best leg of the entire race so far, which, you know, is saying things to a certain degree. And even they get lost to the point where Phil's just sort of like, all right, come here. You can't even finish it out. But what was your reaction to getting to see both Angela and Turner return in such big ways? Do you feel like you wanted more of them?
Yeah, I definitely wanted more. I was very disappointed when they get out, but I feel like it's like, okay, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm with if anybody gets out because I'm excited to see them all back. So there's no team that I'm like, oh, we can get rid of them. Like I'm happy that they're all there. But yeah, it was really disappointing. I kind of was hoping that like, especially with Turner and Megan, I really thought that like they were see, that's the thing is that I'm not used to watching a show where like the edit is already there and you can kind of look to clues in the edit. Like I'm so used to Big Brother where it's like the editors are just putting the story together as we go along and we can't like indicate like, oh, this person's got a winner's edit, like because then nobody knows who's going to win. But here it's very different. So it's been very interesting listening to your podcasts on it because you guys will point out like, oh, 99% of the time, if they end on like, you know, these people having trouble or whatever, and then it cuts to commercial, then it will be fine when we get back from the break. Like stuff like that is like very interesting to me because it's like, I don't ever get to think about that sort of stuff during Big Brother.
Yeah.
So it's been very interesting listening to you guys and like also like looking for that sort of stuff. So for me, I was thinking Turner and Megan are having an edit where it's like they're trying to show them like kind of struggling, but like working on it. And like they're the kind of funny, quippy team. And then, you know, then they're going to have this, you know, rise where they like actually end up getting better. And then they like end up in the finals or whatever. Like I honestly thought that was what was going to happen. But it didn't. So obviously I don't know how to read an edit. But it's been really fun watching them. And I'm just like, it's upsetting that we don't get to see them more. I mean, they're both like, especially Turner obviously is just like very funny.
Yeah.
So it's fun to hear like him when he's struggling, just make these like funny comments and stuff. I love that sort of stuff. And obviously seeing Angela and seeing Enzo, like it, you know, I wish we could have seen more of both of them. So, yeah, it's disappointing, but at the same time, I'd be disappointed if anybody got out. So
to that point, Do you have any favorites, either as a team or even just like the loved ones, right? This complete strangers to you coming in. Do any stand out to you right now?
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, I really like Kat and Alex and their dynamic. I feel like they're such a cute couple together and they just like they help each other. They like lift each other up and I just feel like they're a good match. And they've also been like funny. So
Yeah.
I've really appreciated the two of them. I mean, honestly, when Kat forgot to take off her bandana or whatever, and he was just like, it's okay. Anybody could have made this mistake. Like that's that takes a lot of like kindness
Well,
to
and
say
especially
that.
considering like 2 legs from now, right? When we see him in the hockey task, and maybe that's more so like when he feels like he's messing up, as opposed to like when he knows that Kat made a
Right.
mistake. But yeah, he has a lot of grace in that moment, especially early
Totally.
on, right? When like yeah, there is a lot at stake right now, and they were already towards the back of the pack.
Like, cause the it would be so easy to just be like, why didn't you take the bandana off? Like, what are you thinking? Like, just take the bit. Like, why would you take that? Why you notice you have a bandana around your neck? Like, what are you doing? Like, it would be so easy to be like, you're making us late. You're making us do this. Like, I can't believe you've done this to us. Cause like it was definitely her fault. Like, if they lose, it's definitely on her. And the idea that he's just like, it's fine. Anybody could do this. Don't worry about it. Don't beat yourself up. Like, that made me really like him a lot. So I was just like, I'm a big fan of theirs, and I like to see them. I'd like to see them do well. So
Hmm.
and then obviously, like I am really enjoying the alliance.
Okay.
So I am excited to see how they do and how they help each other, and like it's fun to see the kind of like creative ways that they've helped each other along. I thought the directions thing, I know we've talked about this already, but I did think that that was like really clever and not something expected, because it would have been just as easy to be like, look, you guys, we're all in like the top three. Let's just like, we're all going to just move on and do this. But the fact that they like stayed behind and helped them, I thought that that was like, it was cool to see. So I like it. I don't love big alliances running the whole
I was
show,
gonna
but
say.
in this situation, I feel like I can get behind it for now. But if they constantly are just like beating everyone else and it's just like, okay, whatever, and that might be kind of boring. But for now, I'm enjoying it.
That's the thing. It's almost the opposite of Big Brother discourse now, where when a majority alliance forms in the first week, people are like, "Oh God, here we go,
Mhm.
steamroll incoming," because we've sort of lived in that mentality before. Whereas here on the Amazing Race, to your point, it is a little nouveau, at least from a formal perspective.
Yeah.
And yeah, if it does become like they just continue to stay at the top week after week, then we could definitely have a bit of a different conversation about it. But again, for
Yeah.
now, because it is something that is so different and again so like altruistic at certain points, I'm incredibly intrigued by it. And I think you bring up a really good point too, in that it is unexpected, in that like
Mhm.
it just by chance, if another set of three teams decided to not get on that train in Frankfurt and decided to work together, like it is really interesting how much the second leg really informed the third leg, and how this alliance came about. Like, I don't know if I'd say by coincidence, because maybe there were connections between them that had them all deciding to stay behind, but like that one choice has now led to a massive shift in the game.
Totally, totally. And I think you guys kind of mentioned this, but if it was a situation where they were just like they were an alliance and the way they were being in an alliance was like waiting for the other team to finish the task before just moving on to a new task or whatever, like, holding themselves back just
Yeah.
because they like feel bad for that team or whatever, that would not be fun. But I like the like clever ways that they've found to help each other,
Hmm.
and not also sacrifice themselves. Like that sort of stuff, that's boring to me. Like
Hmm.
sacrificing yourself for someone else, like I don't like that. And that's why, like, if it really was just like Jag and Jazz, like giving Natalie and her sister like the first place like finished just because they felt bad for her because it was her birthday, I would be like, okay, eye roll. But the fact that they were like, actually, we're kind of trying to take some heat off of us, like I like that because that's clever, that's strategic, that's fun. But yeah, just stuff where they're just like being nice to be nice, like I don't like that much. So
Yeah.
I that's why I'm kind of enjoying it right now, but we'll see if it gets, too corny.
I do realize in retrospect, like, imagine if Jasmine from BB24 was in that same position. Like, we knew how much she milked that birthday. Could
Oh my
you just
God.
imagine if she's
Oh
like,
God.
all right, this is my birthday race, y'all. You gotta give me first place every time.
Oh no, I'd be like, nope, get her out. No, she can't. She can't do this. She can't use the birthday again. Not again.
Well, I'm intrigued, Melissa, again, as a certified BB historian. I know you mentioned like the advent of, oh, would this be fun to see previous duos from Big Brother season compete together? But if we had to use the same construct of like Big Brother player and loved one, is there someone from a previous season that you would like to see back? Or if they're like as a specific loved one pairing that you want to see play out on The Amazing Race?
I don't know about like loved one pairing, but I would have loved to have seen Zach Rance. I just feel
Yeah.
like we haven't seen him in forever. You know, it was I know that I guess he like soured relations with like CBS, but that was like a long time ago. So like maybe, give him a break. But I feel like it'd be really fun to see him back on our screens just because we haven't in so long. And like for me, I feel like The Amazing Race, like if you ask me, like, who do I want to see back on Big Brother, that would be a totally
Mm.
different question because for me, like seeing people back on Big Brother, it's like I want to see the strategy, I want to see the best players like compete against each other, that sort of stuff. But Amazing Race to me, it's like I want to see the personalities, I want to see the people. I obviously like I've been enjoying the strategy in this season, but like that's not what I expect from Amazing Race. So that's just like
Mm.
an added bonus. But I do really like the personalities, and I feel like that's what I want to see. So if we're talking personality, like I would love to see Zach.
All right, Melissa, you are the voice of the people. And so I don't know if they'll be in support of the answer to this, but speak on their behalf in this moment while they're in
Uh-oh.
absentia. Who will win the Amazing
Oof.
Race 38?
Oh, that's so hard. I honestly like probably Jag and Jess. Like I just
It's a
feel
good
like
chalk
they're
pick,
just
yeah.
they're just so good. I feel like it would be a struggle for me to see like a situation where they just like really can't do it. I mean, when they just did the hockey task, did they get it on the first try or was that the way it made it look from the editing?
Yeah, I don't think I think the ones who got it on the first try, I think Izzy and Paige got it on the first try, and I think maybe it was Rubina and Christine, I think also got it on the first try. They didn't do as many
Okay.
tries as like Tucker was on there for like
Yeah.
25 times,
Which
but
was
like,
funny because they were like Tucker plays like he skates and he plays hockey or whatever. They were like saying he loves the ice, like he'll be great.
oh, sorry, I was looking at my notes. Jack scored on his second try. So
That's so
still very
fast.
impressive considering that again they talked about the fact that like they don't necessarily find themselves on ice often.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh yeah, we don't skate. Like I don't know, this is crazy." And then all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, we're done." Like I
Yeah.
just feel like they're just naturally good at everything. It's just very impressive. So I honestly like I could see them winning for sure. I could see them winning. Also, I had a question.
Yeah.
So when they were about to start that hockey task, I think it was Natalie said like, "I have to do it." Why did Natalie have to do it?
Okay, this is a very good question because this this leg had two roadblocks in it.
Mhm.
And oftentimes unless I've talked before about the roadblock quota that a partner is only allowed to do X amount of roadblocks in a season. And unless, the quota has been met, automatically the other partner has to do the other roadblock. So because Stephanie had
Oh.
already done the beer pouring, Natalie, by just pure, default, had to do the hockey as
They
a
don't
result.
explain that though, like
Yeah, they just sort of yada yada through it. Again,
yeah.
it's been so interesting because I know that I talked about this with Taryn when we did one of these podcasts about the fact that for Amazing Race fans, they kind of threw them into the deep end of the pool with just saying like, you know these Big Brother players, when they're like, we very much don't. But now that it's sort of like the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Where now these Big
Right.
Brother fans might be like, wait, did they do two roadblocks in a leg? Like, what's an express pass? What's a fast forward? So it is kind of interesting. Coming in, I was intrigued to find out how this show would sort of explain itself to the two very different sets of fans that are going to be
Yeah.
watching this season. And the answer is kind of like
They're like,
not
"We're
really
not.
serving anybody at all.
We're not gonna explain anything. You're just gonna have to watch." Yeah, I was surprised by that, and then I was surprised, yeah, I guess, like, the way that they like you said that, like, you have to do a certain number of them or something,
Mhm.
like, I didn't know about that, like, I didn't know that I thought it was like, yeah, if you have someone who's, like, really good, just, like, keep having them do the roadblocks,
Yeah.
like, don't worry about it,
So that's the case. That was the case for the first 5 seasons, but because in season 5 there was an end game, without getting into too many spoilers, that was like 3 teams that had like one very athletic man on it, and then there was like a team of like 2 middle-aged women. And so it's like, hey, if there's a bunch of physical stuff towards the end,
Oh
guess who's
yeah,
kind of
like you
boxed
just
out of
do
that?
them.
They've
Yeah.
decided to bring in sort of a rule that is usually 6 and 6. You can only do 6 roadblocks. It's sort of been relaxed depending on the number of roadblocks in a season, but that is sort of like the soft rule now, is that no person can do more than 6 roadblocks in a season.
It is funny, like that does make sense, and I never had really thought about it before, but like the idea, I mean, there had been so many seasons where somebody is like, I'll do the task. And it's like, don't do that. No, have your
Yeah.
like strong like husband do the task. Like, why are you doing the like carrying watermelons task? Like, it was always like, I was always like, are you trying to lose? Like, why are you guys picking this? But like, that makes sense that they like have to do it.
Yeah, and I think that also plays into strategy a bit as well, because like again, I look at Jazz and Jag's very interesting pattern where again they've been dominant, but Jag was forced, to my earlier point, to do his first roadblock in this leg. Jazz has done every single one otherwise, and we've seen, I mentioned this a number of times, but I'll continue to do so because it was a winning strategy. When Derek and Claire were on The Amazing Race, they purposely front loaded putting Claire on all of these early roadblocks, which struggled. Like, she's not a singer, and she struggled during a singing task because they assumed, okay, as it gets later in the race, the roadblocks will become more physical, and that's when Derek can do them. And that's exactly what happened. So, for all we know, that could be a strategy that people are banking on as well. But you have to be strategic with it, because if you are more flagrant with it, before you know it, it's like, oh shit, well, Jazz has done 5
Yeah.
roadblocks now, so I guess Jag has to do basically the rest of them the entirety of the race.
Do the roadblocks get more physical at the end?
It really depends. I think they really try to like ramp up the competition, and that plays across in a number of ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is more extreme stunts, like, okay, climb, across this zip line. Sometimes it's like, do this really difficult attention to detail task. So I think that they've done a better job, I would say, of equalizing things more, which is interesting because, early on, especially in The Amazing Race, not to go to Amazing Race 101, but there was a lot of, alpha male physical broy teams that won. Like of the
Mhm.
first 4 seasons, 3 out of the 4 of them were male teams. And then we've also now lately had a very similar surge where seasons 35, 36, 37 also all had male teams. But I wouldn't
Mhm.
exactly call them like alpha bro teams in many
Yeah.
different ways. So, I don't exactly know if that's a pure coincidence, if it was the teams that they just happened to cast in that particular season. But to your point, if it's Jag and Jazz, that makes it 4 seasons in a row that will have this happen. And then maybe there's going to be a bit of a conversation about like, do tasks need to be restructured to
Yeah.
maybe not give too much of an advantage to these types?
Yeah, definitely. I also thought it was interesting what you guys mentioned about how if there's only a certain number of teams that can do a certain task and then the other ones have to do it. Like when they all kept picking that chair one, I was like, why? That one sounds way harder. Like, why is everybody picking that? And then you guys mentioned that, like, oh, it must have been that like the first few teams picked this one and they only have a certain number of glasses, so they can't
Yeah.
do it. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, because I was like, this task is way harder, obviously. Why is everybody picking it?
Yeah, and it's interesting because sometimes they explain that and sometimes they don't. There's sort of 2 sort of divisions between what we just mentioned. One is sort of a logistics thing. Like we said, they probably wouldn't be able to deliver these glasses and then bring them back for more teams to do. And so we sometimes have like, okay, X amount of teams can only do it, period. And then we also
Mhm.
have X amount of teams can only do it at a time. That's more of a limited stations thing where it's like, there was like a roadblock or a detour maybe a few years ago where it's like making pizza, and it's like, okay, only 6 stations are available. And so then you have to make a decision, right? Of like, okay, teams are ahead of us. Do we sit and wait our turn, essentially, wait
Yeah.
for a station to become open, or do we go for the other one? And that comes into mind a lot. I think, again, if you think you're in the back of the pack, there are some teams that are like, just automatically make the assumption, okay, that task is probably all booked up, so I have to sort of do the other one by default. Something that also goes largely unseen that I think also incorporates a lot into people's thinking is the location of the detour. For some people, it's just as simple as like, if option A is closer than option B, then do that, especially if you've had trouble navigating the entire day. They don't usually talk about that, but I think that can also be a key determinant as to like which one you do if you feel like there's not one task you're good at over the other.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That would be where I would struggle the most with Amazing Race. It's like just the running or the walking, like running to fill, like that. I would be like, okay, no, we're going to walk. Like, I can't do that. It would be very difficult. Also, I was wondering, okay, so now I'm asking you all these
No,
questions.
I love this. This is
But
great.
just because like I like don't know all this stuff. Okay. Why is it that like some teams have two backpacks and some teams have one person carrying a backpack?
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about this a little bit because it also sometimes shows how much research teams did before going into the Amazing Race. Because in the past, everyone had essentially everything on their backs at all times to carry around the world. But teams have started to, and they have publicized this, which again is why I talk about like who has done their homework versus who hasn't. It's become very well publicized on some of these teams' YouTube channels that sometimes they just completely collate everything into one backpack. That way, that reduces all the weight. You're
Yeah.
literally lightening your load by half, and then it's just okay. The physically strongest person carries around a bag, so it doesn't weigh you down the entire time. There's also some logistics around bags, like you can only be a certain number of feet from your bags at all times, or else it's breaking the rules. And we've
So
also
crazy.
and we've also seen at certain points, one team in one season actually won or helped. What helped them win is that usually the final leg, right, they return to the United States. And one team on their flight back to the US checked their bags and just never picked them up. They're like, we don't need all this stuff, right? Like, we all left it behind, so let's just run without anything with just the clothes on our backs. And so they didn't have to wait for any sort of customs or luggage or anything, and it really helped them get in the lead early on.
Oh my god. Wait, so they have to carry all of their stuff with them? They carry like toiletries and clothes and everything?
Yep. They they usually pack light. It's tough because especially this season, which looks like it did have, it filmed in like March, April. It does seem like it had some colder weather in it though. You want to pack at least some stuff to make sure you're not freezing your butt off. But yeah, I mean, we spoke about it last time. Like they have to bring these like athleisure wear usually that they are going to wash in the sink. But it also really depends. When I was talking with Angela and Lexi, they were talking about the fact that they had, 15-pound backpacks because Lexi is an esthetician, she has a certain standard that she wants to live up to. So like if you're carrying around a bunch of supplies, there have been teams that were like, why did we bring a hair dryer? We had to ditch the hair dryer at the first pit stop because over
Oh
time
my
people
gosh.
are like, oh, I shouldn't have packed all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, and also, okay, they make them wear those specific colors, right?
Yes, so they do color code the teams, especially like again, early seasons not so much, but they really to the point where Melissa, there were even some seasons where each team had like a hashtag name. And it wasn't even like a portmanteau, it'd be like, the Billy Brothers or like the Roller Moms. So that would be a hashtag on the lower side of the screen as well. So there was a while when they're really into branding each
Yeah.
group. And sometimes they'll also, especially if they don't know each other, they'll just refer to them as that of like infamously, Rachel Riley and Brendan Villegas were known as there's multiple green teams that have lived down an Amazing Race infamy, but for a while they were known as like the Brenchels or the green team for a bit just because of the colors they were wearing.
That's so funny. Yeah, I was always like, "Oh, I guess they, like, really like pink or whatever," but then I was like, "Okay, there's no way that every day they're wearing a pink outfit, like, come on." So, yeah, that's very interesting because, like, yeah, Big Brother doesn't really have that sort of thing, so I always
No,
wondered
Big Brother,
about,
they
like
they give you the outfits. Instead, here they're like,
Yes.
imagine Big Brother, you're like, no, you have to wear powder blue the entire 90
Yeah,
days
just
of the
so that
house.
people can, like, recognize you or something, like, it is odd, though, it's like it's kinda like, "Oh, so you think, like, we're not gonna recognize these people if they're not wearing like a matching green outfit or something. I don't know. It feels strange to me. I don't love it, but that's fine. But yeah,
Well,
I was always wondering about the backpack thing or like if they actually like had to bring their stuff. Also, yeah, like when you mentioned because I remember like the teams would interact with each other after each like leg
yeah, no,
and
let me make mention of that. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I realized when I said like, oh, and an incident happened that implicitly it seems to say like, oh my god, something scandalous happened.
well, yeah,
It
that's
didn't.
what
It didn't. Okay, so let me do Amazing Race
I
history
thought.
here. It was so again during a typical period between pit stops, teams were allowed to eat, sleep, and mingle with each other. In the Amazing Race 13, one person from one team left their sports bra on a balcony of a hotel they were staying at, and another person from another team pushed it off, whether it was by accident, whether it was on purpose. And the drama sort of then played into the leg where it's like, oh my God, so-and-so pushed my property away. We got to target them. And so I think that production kind of tamped down on it for one of two reasons. One, because, this is creating drama, that this is a period that they're not filmed, like
Right.
the cameras aren't running. The crew has to rest too in many different ways. And so it allows for stuff that's not outside of the game to kind of make its way into the race. And B, it's saying, hey, if you have beef with a team, we need to get it on camera. We don't need to have as much footage as possible. To my knowledge, that was the extremity of what happened. Nothing else beyond that.
Okay.
But for that
Well,
reason,
good.
but
I'm
that
glad that's all it was because I was like, oh my God, an incident? That's very scary.
Yeah, it's wild to think that usually when talking about reality TV, the word incident, the actual incident is much more minimized. This is like the exception to the
Yeah.
rule. But yeah, after that, they then pretty much implemented this policy of like, nope, everyone just kind of, the only person you're allowed to see during this period is your partner, and then you figure out who's still in the race and who isn't the next time everyone gets together.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I do love that they stagger the leaving, like
Hmm.
the start times or whatever in the morning. Like I always love when it's like dark out and people like start. But I do feel like why do they do that when then they can't get into the place at till like 10 a.m.? Like it just feels like you've made them wake up early for nothing.
It really depends. Because usually in early seasons, it was like a specific mandatory 12-hour rest period where it was okay, no matter when you checked in, 12 hours later, you would then be able to start. It's a great question that speaks to designing legs. And sometimes it might be just due to circumstances. If it's like, hey, this place always opens at 9. We didn't know that the teams would take this long or this short amount of time. So it's just inconvenience. Sometimes it really is purposely placed choke points of like, and this is something we might even get next episode, right? Because again, all these teams are so separated. The
Yeah.
Turners started the leg like 7 hours after Jag and Jas did. So sometimes they sort of manufacture these points, these hours of operation to be like, okay, now everybody's together. And so it doesn't just become further and further
Yeah, because
separated.
then otherwise Phil is like having to go like to another country and then back to this country to like, check in the last team. So
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. But yeah, it does feel kind of like pointless when it's like, oh my God, they're so far ahead. And then it's like, oh no, actually the place is like gated and they can't get it until 10.
Yeah, it's a little demoralizing, I think, for those teams. Though again, I think these three teams were able to make hay while the sun shines because they knew they
Hmm.
had the driver's seat coming up to be like they had 2 hours to essentially game this out. Otherwise, yeah, it's you're sort of expending, perhaps the competitive edge that the well-performing teams would get for allowing some parity and allowing everyone to catch up. Personally, I'm fine with that because I the thing that I come to the Amazing Race for, one of the many, is variety, is seeing like,
Yeah.
okay, what are the shakeups? And so that's maybe the one thing that I'm missing from this season personally is that I
Hmm.
am grateful for, getting to see these teams. And to your point, have really been intrigued in what this Trainwreck Alliance was doing to cement themselves at the top. I just want a little bit more of this concept of the Amazing Race, right? Which is like depending on the tasks and where you are, you
Right.
can always be in first or you can always be in last. And we might get that when we go to Hungary next episode, but I'm hungry for that in particular.
No, I totally agree. I think like if it ends up being a season where these three just like dominate the whole time, I feel like that'll be really boring. So I do hope that there are some sort of shakeups. Um, but yeah, I mean, so far I'm enjoying it. But yeah, like you said, if it stays this way the whole time, then it's kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, let's just cut out everyone else and just have these three compete then, if that's what we're doing.
Well, what we are doing here is having a great time talking about this. Melissa, I know we sort of like opened up the question box, but is there anything else you want to talk about with this season or the Amazing Race in general? Either a comment or a question?
Honestly, like I'm really excited that they are even doing this season with Big Brother people. I just think it's so fun and I feel like I come in and out of the Amazing Race, but every time I'm watching it I'm always like this is really fun. Like I do
Yeah.
really enjoy it and I think that it's super inspiring. It totally makes me want to do it. But I feel like everybody says that same thing. I mean, who wouldn't want to like travel around the world like and like race around and learn about new cultures and do all that. So I feel like that would be really fun. But yeah, no, I think that this season has been really fun and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I mean, it's Yeah, I've been really impressed with people that I maybe didn't think like had it in them or whatever, like, and now they're doing really well. And so I just feel like it's been really fun.
Well, I know that are in the process of taking, your long winter's nap in between Big Brother seasons. But is there anything you want to plug to the listeners out there? Other stuff you're doing, or any other stuff out there that you want to pump up?
Nope. I mean, just you can find me on social media. It's Melissa with 3 A's everywhere. But yeah, that's if you want to see pictures and videos of Callan, it's on my Instagram. I post stories. But yeah, no.
In several years, he might usurp Dennis as your ideal Amazing Race partner.
I know. Oh man. Yeah. Right now, no, not so much. I'd be carrying him around and he'd be like screaming. But yeah, no. Dennis would be a great partner. Dennis loves maps. He loves that sort of stuff. I mean, would you want to be on the show?
It's a great question. Because I admit I'm not someone who's like incredibly well traveled. I would be that sort of prototypical case of like, here are the super fans on the show, but they actually don't really have any
They don't know anything.
realistic skills to be able to make, like, I know what roadblock is coming up, but I don't know if I'm able to do said roadblock. There's a big difference again between studying to do the test and doing the actual thing. So
Yeah.
that it would be a good excuse to see, various parts of the world. I know obviously it can be a very stressful, arduous experience to have you not be able to see the forest for the trees, but I always really appreciate those moments when people are like, look at where we are, look at what we're
Yeah.
doing right now. So I don't know. I actually was having a conversation recently with a lot of RHAP people about like which one of these shows we would do. And like, depending on my partner, maybe The Amazing Race could be number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
It
Yeah.
used to be Big Brother for me as my number one. But now I can't. I can't. But now Amazing Race is number one. But for a while I really did want to be on Big Brother, like desperately. I like wrote out like a manual for myself of like various like strategic things to like think about and like various like alliance names I want to use and like all this stuff. And I applied and nothing. So I was like, all right, that's it. That was my shot. Now I'm done. So yeah, not happening anymore. But I did want to for a while.
Well, listen, regardless, you're talking about The Amazing Race, even if you're not doing so. And I'm so grateful that you did. This is a great opportunity to again get your thoughts about the show, both your history with it as well as this current season. We shall see how well the voice of the people's predictions will hold up as again, we are going to Budapest next week. Myself, Jess, hopefully Rob will be back as well on Thursday to break down everything that is happening. Of course, if you missed it, Jess got the chance to talk with the Turners too. I got the chance to talk with them over on Parade. Really lovely chat there. And keep on checking out everything going on at WeKnowAmazingRace.com to make sure you don't miss out on any of those podcasts or these random check-ins. If there are people from the Big Brother community or alumni even that you want me to speak with, let me know. Obviously, it's a very wide ocean of Big Brother alumni out there. So any of you want to specify, please make it known either in the comments here on social media or at a Mike Bloom type. That's going to do it for this particular podcast. Melissa, again, thank you so much for coming in and giving your thoughts on this. This was such a great time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we'll be back on Thursday recapping episode 4 of The Amazing Race 38. Until then, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.